Hello, welcome. This is our student organization finance orientation. This orientation is to be completed by treasurers of student organizations that receive Student Activities Fund. If you are unclear whether or not your organization receives or is eligible for Student Activities Funds, please reach out to us at activities@luc.edu. Um, in general, if you've submitted a budget request in the past through the allocations committee or the allocations process, you are eligible for student activity funding. And we will be talking about how to go about doing that today. My name is Lena Flores-Wolf. I'm the Student Organizations and Involvement Coordinator here at the Center for Student Engagement. I work with our student organizations primarily on the finance side, overseeing the allocations process through the student government, as well as leadership development pieces, including continuing learning and education for our student organizations. This training will begin with a little bit of information about the event planning process, and then throughout the whole orientation process, we will be talking about the steps on the event planning process, making sure you have everything in order, including your budget request, activity request form, purchase request, all of the things that you need to have a successful event. The goal of this training is for you to understand how to plan an event, how to manage each of the steps, and determine whose responsibility it is to go through all of these steps. So one of the things that I want to talk about just as we start off this training is our event planning guide. You can access that on the resource library, but this is a great guide and resource for your planning process for your event. One of the main things that we always ask our student organizations is to start early in the event planning process, making sure that you have goals and outcomes for your event. It is a lot easier to plan an event if you have a general goal in mind. So then you can kind of backtrack and plan the steps of your event and the process of your event a lot easier. And then to make sure you work with your board to assign and delegate tasks and goals. It is very difficult to plan an event as one person. So making sure that each uh, e-board member or officer has their own roles and responsibilities that they can be accountable for. A lot of the resources that we'll be talking about today will be you can find in our resource library on LU Community. So if you go into your LU Community platform and you just scroll down a little bit, you'll be able to find this resource library at the bottom. This will take you to all of the resources that you have access to, including allocations as well as purchasing resources. This CSE event planning guide will be found on the events and activities resources, and then you can click on that guide and find additional information about how to plan an event. You'll notice that a lot of these things happen concurrently, so we'll talk about all of the steps in the process of having an event, and kind of how to determine who should be doing what steps. But the main thing that you need to notice is that a lot of the timelines are happening at the same time. And a lot of times these timelines overlap. So you just want to make sure you're planning early to make sure that you're submitting everything on time, and so that you can have your event successfully. Like I mentioned throughout this training, we'll be talking about the steps in the event planning process, um, and making sure that you feel confident enough to go through these processes and make sure you're doing everything correctly. Should you have any questions, we always encourage you all to email activities@luc.edu, and you'll be able to find additional information in our resource guide, a resource library, as well as any manuals or resources that we'll share.